Hello and welcome. I'm Asuma Katauka and you're watching World Report on News 6 World. Let's take a look at the top headlines of this hour. US President Donald Trump has announced that National Guard trooper Sarah Backstorm has died after a shooting near the White House. He has said that the second soldier remains in critical condition and is fighting for his life. US President Donald Trump has announced a sweeping set of immigration proposals. He vowed to permanently pause migration from all third world countries and launch what he described as reverse migration to restore order in the United States. US President Donald Trump has said that the United States will very soon begin action on land to stop suspected Venezuelan drug traffickers. They will soon expand operations beyond maritime strikes amid rising tensions and increased US military deployments in the region. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that Kyiv holds daily consultations with international partners to counter Russia's war. He has added that Ukrainian and US delegations will meet again to advance frameworks for peace and security guarantees. The Jordan Foreign Ministry has confirmed that 2 Jordanians were killed after being illegally recruited to fight for the Russian army, with spokesperson Fuad Majali warning that such recruitment violates Jordanian and international law. The ministry has urged citizens to report recruitment attempts and has called on Russia to halt Jordanian enlistments. Iran's Supreme Leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei has criticized the Trump administration on calling it unworthy of contact or cooperation with Tehran. He has also denied rumors that Iran had sent messages to Washington. Israeli authorities review a deadly incident in Jenin, West Bank, where IDF soldiers shot 2 men following surrender. Palestine condemned the killings as war crimes. Hong Kong authorities report 79 injured, including 12 firefighters, one seriously in a high-rise apartment complex fire in Tai Po. Rescue efforts are complete, but around 200 residents remain unaccounted for. Now we start this hour with the breaking news. Hong Kong authorities report that the death toll from the city's worst fire in decades has risen to at least 128 people, with around 200 still unaccounted for. The blaze, which engulfed a high-rise complex in Tai Po's northern district, raged for more than 24 hours and is now nearly extinguished. Officials confirmed 79 people were injured, including 12 firefighters, out of which one is in serious condition. Rescue operations have concluded as authorities continue accounting for missing residents and assessing the full impact of the disaster. Now we move on to US. US President Donald Trump has announced a sweeping set of immigration proposals in a social media post, vying to permanently pause migration from all third world countries and launch what he described as reverse migration to restore order. And in the United States, Trump has also stated that he would end all federal benefits for non-citizens, denaturalize migrants who undermine domestic tranquility, and deport any foreign national considered a public charge, security risk, or non-compatible with Western civilization. He has argued that only reverse migration could resolve what he called illegal and disruptive population growth in the U.S. This comes after the killing of 2 National Guards by an Afghan national near the Farragut West Station in the Northwest Quadrant in Washington, D.C. Experts suggest that such a move will have huge global implications and affect millions who shift to the U.S. for jobs, education, and also to escape persecution in their countries. Now for this discussion, we welcome former Ambassador Suresh Goyal. He's a former Indian ambassador, joins us live from New Delhi. Thank you very much, Ambassador, for joining us again. Good to see you. Now, looking at this, what would be the global and diplomatic consequences if now that U.S. could significantly restrict immigration? Ambassador, you might be muted here.
You know,
Yep.
yes, can you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, now, yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
You see, I can understand why President Trump reacted the way he did. But in my own judgment, I think it's rather excessive, bit overdone, simply because of the factor that the USA is today in terms of technology. If you look at the number of immigrants who work in NASA, who work in the Harvard University, who work in the research and technology system, who work in their economy, the the investment which has come from other countries into their industry is amazing. It's huge, really, and colossal. And therefore, for the USA to declare that all immigrants from the sensitive countries, he would basically re-examine their green cards and reverse immigration. It's all very good to say so, but it will have disastrous impact on the American economy itself. That is number one. Number two, uh, I don't think countries like India are going to be hugely impacted by this. Prime Minister Modi has already declared the scheme for immigration of qualified people, technologically high level people from the USA to come to India and to start their own work and start their own startups, industry, etc., or the training or the institute. So I don't think uh, India will be hugely impacted by this kind of a situation. They are most welcome to come back to India and start their own research and support the technology system. But it will have bad, very, very adverse impact on the USA itself. And that will mean a cascading impact on the global economy, and that is what I'm worried about.
Right. And
Yes,
Ambassador, I do agree with you that this rather seems like U.S. is or President Trump's administration in particular is kind of outsourcing when pointing fingers. They rather have a lot of gun violence, which is from their own people, right? Not from immigrants. Do you think that these kind of things will maybe trigger a debate within U.S. that why should we rather focus on or pointing out other or migrants on blaming them for the problems in U.S. domestic shootings? Well, in this case, it was triggered by a migrant, but
you're absolutely right. I mean, the violence can be engineered by a migrant, no migrant to the USA. There is no. I and please do remember that this Afghanistani person who has been accused of shooting, he was working with CIA in Afghanistan, and he came back to India under the CIA program of giving shelter to those who supported them in their activities in their regime change in Afghanistan. That is so they actually were working for the USA in that sense. And number two, uh, whoever creates a violence, whether it is American natives or whoever, in fact, I don't even know whether the Americans, the white Americans, can be called the natives. The natives are actually the Indian Americans, or those who were living there even before the whites came there as aliens. So that is the point is not really that. The point is that Trump is known for his anti-immigrant attitude. And in a rush, and basically because of his own beliefs, he has taken a decision or he's doing something which is going to prove catastrophic for the USA economy. And that time will tell, maybe, and I do hope that another 3 years of Trump as the president will not prove to be too long to reverse the impact of such a decision.
yes. And Ambassador, I really like how you bring up, U.S. is made out of, these white people are not indigenous as well. The U.S. has their own First Nations or their own indigenous community. So how do you think how long or how far does this phrase used by President Trump in particular for, immigrants go, when he says that I'll be sending back the immigrants now?
I think President Trump, even when he is not the president, will continue to use this language for a long time, even when he's not the president, as I said. But the point really here is whether he uses or not. The point here is what it will do to the USA and what it will do to the leadership role that the world expects USA to play. That will be corroded to a great extent, and that's a problem.
Yes, indeed. And building on that, how do you think how risky it is to, linking a single violent incident to sweeping migration reforms? How do you think this will affect U.S.'s public discourse, policy making, and even, as you said, a relationship with international players?
Very, very badly, very badly. The world is already questioning the USA. China is practically baying at its heels. And the China, which has insulated itself practically both in terms of technology and in terms of economy from what the USA, from the decision that the USA takes. The USA, by these kind of decisions, unfortunately, is creating space for the countries that it is trying to repel from coming and basically closer to the number one position, and I mean China. And I don't think the USA will be very comfortable with that, even if Trump is looking forward to meet Xi, but equality will not be comfortable to Trump.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Ambassador Suresh for joining us and sharing that insight on this topic. Now we move on to Europe. Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban is meeting Russian President Vladimir Putin today in Moscow to discuss crude oil and gas supplies for Hungary. As well as peace efforts in Ukraine, Orban has maintained close ties with Moscow despite the war in Ukraine, and Hungary remains reliant on Russian energy. Orban has announced the meeting on his Facebook page, saying that he was going to ensure Hungary's energy supply for the coming winter and next year. The discussions will also touch on Ukraine, with Orban noting the challenge of avoiding the topic. This comes after the U.S. granted Hungary an exemption from sanctions on Russian oil and gas. Orban has also proposed a peace summit between Putin and Trump in Budapest, a plan that was shelved earlier this year. Now for this discussion, we welcome Glenn Grant. He's a former advisor to Defense Minister of Ukraine, joins us live from Kyiv. Thank you, Glenn, for joining us today. I hope you're staying safe there. Thank you.
Yeah, yes, thank you. I'm trying.
Thank you. Glad to have you back with us. If you can tell us, is there any role that Viktor Orban can play to get peace between Putin and Zelensky?
No, none at all. And the reason is because he's pulled himself away from anything to do that is sensible to do with the existence and the working of Ukraine. I mean, he not only has aligned himself with Putin, as you can see, because he's going there to see him, but he's pushed away all the other countries that might be allies for him, and he's also constantly accusing Ukraine of doing things against the Hungarian minority.
And Glenn, how does Hungary's continued reliance on Russian oil now, and also gas, even amid this Ukraine war, affect NATO's strategic cohesion and the alliance's ability to present a unified stance?
Yeah, you've raised good points there. I mean, one of the things is that clearly, I mean, Hungary is just putting hard money into Russia. That will be used against Ukraine and may actually be used against Hungary again at some stage, because you can't trust Putin. But it's very difficult for the European Union to claim any sort of solidarity when both Hungary and Slovakia are both undermining joint efforts.
And why did U.S. Grant exemption from sanctions for Hungary in particular?
No, it's very simple. I mean, Trump is working, if not for Putin, with Putin to do everything he can to help Putin. And this is one opportunity that he's got by dropping those sanctions with Hungary to ensure that Putin actually gets some hard financial support.
Right. Thank you for simplifying it for us. And Glenn, what security implications arise from a NATO member again engaging directly with President Putin?
Oh, well, I mean, the one thing is that despite despite their difficultness and contrariness of Hungary, they are, of course, party to all the things that Hungary is talking about and all the things that NATO is talking about. And I think it is worrying because it's almost sure that Orban will just simply hand over to Putin anything that he thinks will get him better leverage with Putin. So security risks, he is a very, very serious security risk on his own.
What does Orban risk for his own country, like Hungary here, for continued engagement with Russia?
Yeah, I mean this is a good question. I mean, all my Hungarian friends, I have quite a few on on Facebook and on email. They're all very anti-Orban at the moment, and they think he's just dragging them down for his own personal ambitions with Putin. So I think that if there is a free and fair election, then Orban is likely to get booted out. But of course, as we know from these things with other countries, there may not be a free and fair election. So we may have more of Orban in the future.
Do you think that even in case of a new or more Orban in the future for Hungary, do you think EU will be trying to corner or punish Hungary for how they have acted during Ukraine and Russia war?
Well, this is a very good question because I mean van der Leyen, who sort of heads the EU, has been extremely weak on this area so far. In fact, weak enough that I suspect that she may have Putin's sympathies, because there has been nothing of any seriousness so far except stopping some of the money that Orban needs for that he probably wants to steal himself. But at some stage, the European Union is going to have to do something. And I do know that they are working on ways not to punish, but just to work around Orban and Hungary with what it's doing.
Right. With that, I would like to thank Glenn for sharing that insight. Please stay with us as we come back to you for our next discussion as well. Now we stay in the region. Belgian Prime Minister Bart De Wever has warned that the European Union about using frozen Russian state assets to fund Ukraine that could jeopardize a potential peace deal in the nearly 4-year conflict. In a letter to European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen, De Wever has said that moving forward hastily on the proposed $162 billion reparations loan scheme risks preventing an eventual peace agreement. EU leaders previously attempted to approve the plan at the summit last month, but Belgium, which holds a significant portion of the frozen assets, withheld the support. De Wever also notes that Belgium has not yet seen any proposed legal language from the European Commission regarding the scheme. The European Commission aims to address Belgium's concerns in a draft legal proposal set to be presented this week, outlining the use of frozen Russian sovereign assets to support Ukraine in 2026 and 2027. Now for this discussion, we welcome back Glenn Grant. He's a former advisor to Defense Minister of Ukraine, joins us live from Kyiv. Thank you very much, Glenn, for staying with us.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Now, Glenn, looking at this, do you think this is realistically possible to use the frozen Russian assets for Ukraine and without any repercussions?
Yeah, I mean, there should be no repercussions at all. I mean, the only repercussions that can come are from Russia, and Russia has actually, broken every rule and law that there is going. So why we should worry about what Russia says in the future, I have no idea whatsoever. And that money is there and should be used. The problem is political, and the problem is Belgium. Belgium is obviously getting benefit from holding this money because it's a lot of money, and therefore there's a lot of interest from this. But Belgium has been weak on these matters before, and I don't think that is going to change. They will need serious legal persuasion from the European Union before they actually release these funds.
And well, we can only speculate here, but Glenn, how long do you think that could take? Do you see it happening with the upcoming vote on this?
This is European Union work, and they are notoriously slow. So personally, the way it's been going, if it continues at the same pace, I don't see much happening before sort of February, March time. That would be about par for the course for the EU.
Right, and how about this frozen Russian assets that Belgian Prime Minister he warned that using this could jeopardize the ongoing peace efforts. What do you think about that?
Well, it's garbage. It's a total garbage because there are no ongoing peace efforts. And I'm sorry, but if he's prime minister and he doesn't understand that, he shouldn't be prime minister. He needs to go and find a better job that suits him, digging roads or something, because there's no peace plan, no peace actions going on at all. Putin has made this absolutely clear, and he's not about to change. He will keep fighting.
And how could these state funds, how could this affect strategic calculus for both Kyiv and Moscow?
Well, I mean, looking at Kiev. I mean, Kiev is running up huge debts at the moment, and they even have problems with with paying basic things at times. So this money would actually both free up the government to pay for things they need to pay for, just basic debts, but it would also allow some more money to be used to buy weapons and to buy many of the things that the military needs to continue the war properly. On Russia's side, well, they haven't got the money now, so they're not going to get the money in the near future anyway. So I don't think it makes much difference to Russia, except that in the long term, obviously, even for their rebuilding, they would like some of this money back.
And as you rightfully mentioned, that a lot of things move slow in EU, like a lot of things do move slow also in Japan. But what are the potential security implications for NATO and EU's cohesion if member states they move very slow with these kind of decisions?
That's conjecture, of course, from all of us. There seems to be a certain amount of stability in the relationships at the moment in the European Union. But as you know, the stability between the European Union and America is dripping away fast. I think, over the winter, we're going to see a hardening of the European position, and probably have to have a stronger relationship with Japan, as you mentioned, South Korea, Australia, to create a going forward support for Ukraine without the United States of America.
And talking about going forward, what lessons can be drawn from this Belgium's caution, and also regarding any frozen assets, about the interplay between economic measures and conflict resolution in wars?
Well, I think the first and most serious lesson is that people have got to take this war seriously. That too many of the European nations are still treating it as a second activity. So, worry about the country first and internal politics, and the war is second. Populations have not been made clear that this war is coming to get them if the European countries don't sort themselves out and actually support Ukraine properly. It's very, very worrying times, really, and it's like drifting. I'm sorry, but we're drifting. We're not actually biting this subject as hard as we should do to support Ukraine in its battle.
So, Glenn, what's your analysis when you say some countries are not taking this war as seriously as they should? Do you think Hungary is taking this very serious?
I think Orban is. I don't know if you've ever seen the size of the palace that Orban lives in. I think Orban is just taking this as to try and get as much political clout as he can with Russia for whatever reason. And to get as much money from the whole of these activities as he can do. He's a dangerous man at the moment, a dangerous man because he's not on our side, and he's made that absolutely clear by his trip to see Putin now.
Right. Well, I'll have to check where Orban lives after this conversation. With that, I would like to thank Glenn Grant for always joining us and sharing that insight as a former advisor to Defense Minister of Ukraine. Now we move on to our next news. Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney has signed an agreement with the Western energy producing province of Alberta to advance a new oil pipeline, sparking immediate concerns about Ottawa's commitment to battling climate change. The Memorandum of Understanding charts a plan for a pipeline going from Alberta to Canada's Pacific coast to boost oil exports to Asia, which is in line with Carney's goal of expanding overseas trade to offset damage from U.S. President Donald Trump's trade war. Aside from broadening exports, the plan also endorses an overall increase in Alberta's oil and gas production. The new pipeline, as outlined in the deal, would include Indigenous co-ownership. The agreement also suspends clean electricity regulations for Alberta with the proviso that the province increases its industrial carbon price. The agreement also lays out a plan for construction of the Pathways project, which is a massive carbon capture and storage effort that the deal says will be built by 2040 to achieve emissions reductions at date-specific intervals. Now we move on to Asia. The death toll from the floods in southern Thailand has now risen to 87 people. Thailand is battling some of the worst floods in years as military and medical teams race to evacuate residents and deliver supplies to submerged areas. Earlier, the floods caused by 3 days of record rainfall have claimed at least 33 lives across 7 provinces and affected more than 2.7 million people in Thailand. Nearly 50,000 people have been evacuated in Thailand and Malaysia, with thousands stranded on rooftops as strong currents hamper rescue efforts. Meanwhile, Thailand's military has deployed boats, helicopters, and even the country's only aircraft carrier in relief operations. That's all we have time for. Keep watching NewsX World for more news updates from around the world.